days after the death of Abimelech, Israel was a fractured nation. The land lay bruised and battered from civil strife, its people weary and disillusioned. The memory of Abimelech's reign, a dark time marked by bloodshed and treachery, hung over the land like a storm cloud. The nation needed a leader, not a king who would seize power for himself, but someone called by God to restore peace and guide the people back to righteousness. That leader was Tola, a man of quiet strength and steadfast faith. He was a man from the tribe of Issachar, living in the small town of Shamir, nestled in the hill country of Ephraim. His name was not well known. He was not a warrior or a prophet, nor did he come from a powerful family. But what set Tola apart was his unwavering devotion to God and his heart for his people. One day, as Tola sat by a fire outside his home, his brother rushed up to him, breathless with urgency. "Tola, the elders have gathered. They're asking for you." Tola looked up from the fire, puzzled. "For me? Why?" His brother nodded. "They want you to lead Israel. They say you are the only one who can bring peace after the chaos Abimelech left behind." Tola's brow furrowed as he rose to his feet. "I am not a king," he said quietly. "I am just a man trying to live a life pleasing to God." "But that is why they need you," his brother insisted. "Israel needs a man who serves God, not himself." Tola stood silently for a moment, his eyes searching the horizon. He felt the weight of the call pressing on his heart. He had no desire for power or glory, but he could not turn away from the responsibility God was placing before him. "Then let us go," he said at last. "If this is what the Lord wills, I will obey." The elders greeted Tola with respect and urgency. The nation was in disarray, with rival factions vying for power and foreign enemies waiting to strike. They pleaded with him to restore order and protect the people. Tola listened carefully, his heart heavy with the burden of leadership. He knew this would not be an easy task. The wounds Abimelech had inflicted on Israel would take time to heal. The people needed stability, justice, and a leader who would put God first. "God has been faithful to Israel," Tola said, his voice steady. "We have strayed, but he has not abandoned us. If he has called me to this task, I will serve. But we must turn our hearts back to him. Only then will we find peace." For 23 years, Tola judged Israel. He ruled with wisdom and humility, bringing peace and stability to a land that had known too much chaos. He strengthened the people's faith in God and ensured that justice was done. Under his leadership, the nation prospered, and the wounds of the past slowly began to heal. He was not a man who sought recognition or fame, and perhaps that is why his story is told so briefly in the scriptures. There are no grand battles, no dramatic miracles. But Tola's life was a miracle in its own way, a testimony to the power of quiet faithfulness and steady leadership. As the years passed, the people grew to love and trust Tola. He was a father to the nation, a man who lived simply and served with integrity. He judged with fairness, always pointing the people back to the God of their fathers. In his final days, Tola gathered his family around him. His voice was calm but filled with conviction. "My children, remember this. Our strength does not come from our armies or our wealth. It comes from the Lord. Never forget him, for he will never forget you." When Tola died, he was buried in his hometown of Shamir. The people mourned him deeply, for they knew they had lost a great leader, a man who had quietly saved Israel without ever seeking anything for himself. Tola's story may be brief in the pages of Scripture, but its impact is lasting. He is a reminder that God often works through the humble, the faithful, and the unassuming. Not all heroes are conquerors. Some are protectors and healers. Israel would face new challenges after Tola, but for 23 years, the land knew peace because one man was willing to answer God's call and serve without seeking his own glory. His life is a testimony that true leadership is rooted in faith, humility, and a heart devoted to God.